Welcome back to Xander Studios. Today I thought I'd just make a quick video on how to use the Extrude and the Revolve commands within Inventor. These are the two most common commands that you will use to create your parts. And so to get started, we'll start off with just creating a sketch on the XY plane. And let's do a rectangle. Let's go 8 inches. Tab over, and we'll do it. Let's do 15. Doesn't really matter for this because this is only a test. So now for the extrusion, you can either go up here and click on Extrude, and you see it brings up the Extrude dialog box with all your different options. Or if you want to be all cool and show off to your friends and colleagues, you can use quick keys. So to use Extrude again, you just simply hit E, and there it is. Now within the Extrude, move it over here, closer. Here you have the profile of whatever sketch that you want to have extruded, and over here the extents. This is where you can change it from distance, and it will set a whatever particular thickness that you want it to be extruded to. Or let's say if you're on a face and you want to extrude to another face, you would use the 2. Obviously I don't have another part to extrude to, so it's not going to let me do it. You have a between, so if you had a sketch that was between two different faces of a component or an assembly, and you wanted it to be exactly right, you don't want to have to guess what the measurement was, you can simply create a mid-plane in between both of those profiles, the surfaces, and create your sketch off of that mid-plane, and then you can do a between extrude and select the inside faces of both of those surfaces. And then distance from face, obviously it's going to extrude it up to a point, and there will be a gap of whatever it is you choose to have it as. But for right now we'll just leave it at distance, and we'll go ahead and say a 1/4 inch. And down here are your directions. Direction 1 obviously is pointed, as you can see, to the left of the sketch, and if you were to do direction 2, it's opposite. And then this is the symmetrical, so it's going to put the plane that you use to sketch off, it's going to put it in the middle of the part. And then your asymmetric, let's say for whatever reason you only wanted 1/8 of an inch being extruded on one side, but you wanted 1/4 of an inch to be extruded on the other. Well, this gives you that ability. And again, you can choose any one of these right here. Can't do it on the second one. But for this demonstration, we'll just do the direction 1. And 1/4 inch, this means it's a new solid, and it's only the first body, so there's only going to be one solid to begin with. Your output, you can either create a solid body, or if you wanted to just have a surface, as you can see, it doesn't actually give you a rectangle, it just gives you like they look like planes basically. It's just a surface, there's nothing else to it. But we'll leave it at solid for now, and just go ahead and click OK. Now that we've got our base component placed on there, let's go ahead and create another sketch. All I did was I clicked on the face, and it brought up, actually, let me just redo it. How about that? I'll just redo what I just did. So if you click on the face, you see you can edit the extrusion, you can edit the sketch, you can share the sketch, you can turn the sketch on or off. This one right here is create sketch. You can do it this way, or if you're new and not sure, you can just go ahead up here and select new sketch and select that face. It does the same thing. So we'll go ahead now and just make a circle, and let's say it's 1/4 of an inch. Let's make it 1 inch actually. and you shoot off to the side. Alright, so let's just put a couple of constraints on here so it doesn't move on us. So we'll do 2, and we will do 5. So now that we have our our sketch constrained, and you'll notice that it turned blue, and when something is fully constrained, down here it will say fully constrained. You know something's not fully constrained when, if you were to draw a line, let's say just make that 3 inches, and I put this constraint on there of 1. You can see even though it turned blue, if you come down here, you can see it still says 1 dimension needed, and it's the dimension from the offset from either the midpoint of the line, top of the line, bottom of the line, to the center of the part. We don't need that for right now. So we'll go ahead and finish the sketch, and now again we'll hit E on for a quick key to do another extrusion. And now you notice that in our first extrusion, these 3 options were grayed out. And the reason for that again was because that was the initial part. You couldn't do anything, you couldn't use these other 2, or actually any of these 3, because it was the first extrusion of the part. But now, because this is the second extrusion, these have now become available to us. This is the join command. If we were to go ahead and hit OK, you can see it's still 1 solid body, 2 extrusions. And now anything that I do to edit this 1 extrusion will apply to the first extrusion. We'll double click that again. The cut extrude, if you select that and then you flip the direction around and you hit OK, you can see it takes the profile of the sketch that you created and actually cuts through the first part, the first extrusion, excuse me. And then the last one, intersect, if you did that, what it does is it takes the profile of the second sketch, or whatever sketch that you have that crosses over into your first extrusion, and it cuts away everything around it. And let's go ahead and create another example here. So if I just have that sketch there, and I think, let me see. Let me do it, yeah. And then again, 1/4 inch, that direction. See, it's cutting away everything that's in this rectangle and in this circle, except for where those 2 sketches meet. And it leaves you with only what's in between. If you think of the 3 circles that are put together, and you have text in all 3 of them, but then all 3 of those circles where they intersect, there's more text, and then there's text in the middle. That's basically what this is. It's cutting away everything but what's being intersected. And we'll just go ahead and delete all these extrusions right now. And oops. Oh, and this last one, this new solid, excuse me. If we started a new sketch and we made a square, let's say 2 by 3, and let's go ahead and do it correctly and constrain it. Let's make that 2.5, and we'll make this one 1.5. All right, finish our sketch. Do another extrusion. Let's make this be extruded out by 1 inch. So now again, if we were just to hit OK, you can see it's still a solid body. There's only 1, and whatever I do to this one will apply to this one. So if I went into here, created another sketch, and just put a circle on there, and then hit extrude, and I wanted to do a cut extrude, and I hit OK, you can see that has to go further. 0.5, why not? You can see there's no actual visible line when you cut through it. There's nothing that separates this sketch and this extrusion from the first extrusion. And I'll show you what I mean by that here now. Let's just go ahead and delete this one. If we go back into this extrusion, if we select new solid and we hit OK, couple things. One, this changes to now read, instead of just a single part, it now reads as a multi-body solid. And you can see that there are now two solid bodies, that one and this one. Now if we were to again create another sketch off of here and then do an extrusion again, you can see the solids. Now you have to select which solids that you want this extrusion to be coming off of. So if we did a cut extrude and we only had this solid selected, let's say if we made this 2 inches for whatever reason, well, that extrusion is going to go through, it's showing you it's going through both solids. But if you select OK, it's only gone through the second solid. It hasn't gone through the initial extrusion, the initial solid. And that's because there's two different bodies. What you would have to do if you wanted this cut extrusion to go through both of them is you'd have to select solids, and it's already selected the first one for you, and then you simply select whatever other solids that you want to cut through. If you hit OK, and you spin this around, now you can see, oops, that it's two separate solids. It still keeps that profile going all the way through, and that's pretty much it. Now the last thing on for extrusions is the taper. Let's say, for instance, on here, if you wanted to have a taper of some kind, say 45, you can see it's now moved, and it actually puts an angle on it like that. You can use this sometimes. Typically, I don't use tapers. I usually just will create a loft. I'll make the profile of the first sketch and then the profile of the larger sketch, and then just do a loft between the two. But that is basically everything in the extrude command. So now let's just go ahead and get rid of all of this. Delete everything. Yay! And now we'll move on to the revolve command. As you can see from the picture, there you create half of it and it will revolve the entire thing after you've created it. So again, let's do a sketch on the XY plane, and we'll start with a center line. These are your different formats. Construction lines, they're just, like they say, used for construction. They're not able to be extruded, whatever. You can't use them to extrude. The line has to be a solid line in order to extrude. I use them all the time. And then your center lines, obviously, that's pretty obvious. It's a center line. And the way that works is, let's say, just make it 6 inches here. And these are your sketch constraints. So we're going to do a coincident constraint. And select the midpoint there and the origin point. And now that line is constrained fully. If you want me to go into further detail about sketch constraints, let me know in the comments, and I will make a video going into further detail on how to use the constraints within the sketch mode. So now we'll untick that, and you know that these are active when you click it and it turns blue. So now let's create a profile of an angle. Let's make a 3x3 angle here. And it's a 1/4 inch. All right, and again, that's not the one I wanted. We will do, which one do I want to have it on? I don't want that plane. All right, we'll just make the plane right there. So apply a vertical constraint. So now if I were to move this, obviously, there we go. It can only move up and down since I've constrained it to the vertical axis, so to speak, I cannot move it from side to side or anywhere else on the screen. And then we simply just need to add a dimension. So we'll select that face and the center line. And the thing with center lines is when you use them and you apply dimensions to them, it will, even though you're only drawing half of the profile, it will give you a diameter for your dimension. So we will make this, let's make it 6 foot. And now you can see that it's fully constrained. You hit finish sketch, hit the little home button so we can see it. And the quick key for Revolve is R. So if you hit R, again, it's very similar in setup to the Extrude command. We see that profile, solids, output is solid or surface, new solid. Differences being obviously is you have to pick an axis in order to revolve the feature. And your extents, you can do an angle. If you only want to have a quarter of an angle, then you can change it to 90, or if you want it half of one, there's that, or if you want it 120, whatever it is, you can change it. Then you have, again, your twos and your between and full. So we'll go ahead and just leave it at full, hit OK, and that's basically the revolve command. And to be perfectly honest, I do not know what the alternate solution things are because I never use them. But yeah, that is basically the revolve command. And now if you wanted to, you could add fillets to this to make it actually look like a real angle. And sometimes this can be used as a stiffener angle, depending upon whatever industry that you're in. I'm used to having these be used as stiffeners and also flanges, because I do a lot of duct work and industrial style things. But yeah, those are the two most common, Extrude and Revolve, the two most common creating tools that you will use in Inventor. And I hope I've covered everything about the two in this video. If you have any questions or any other further comments, then leave a comment below and I hope I can answer them. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about the hole command, the fillet, and the chamfer, and the shell command. So that's going to conclude it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed. If you liked it, hit the like button down below, and if you want to, you don't have to. I'm not pressuring you. Don't worry. Hit the subscribe button and to see more of my videos as I move forward. I'm hoping to do this on a more regular basis. So yeah, that's going to conclude it for this video. So thanks for watching.